A woman told your ex something terrible about you, and now the truth is haunting her every night. Archangel Michael says. It started with a lie, coded in envy and spoken in the shadows. Archangel Michael speaks now, not just as your protector, but as the witness to a great spiritual injustice. There are things whispered in the dark that ripple into destinies, and what was said about you was no small thing. It was venom disguised as concern. A woman, once close to you, perhaps a friend, a family member, or someone who pretended to care, spoke to your ex-partner. What she said wasn't just untrue, it was intentionally twisted. Crafted to break your character, to assassinate your reputation, to destroy something sacred between you and someone you loved. Heaven watched as her lips moved, not from a place of innocence, but from a place of deep-rooted jealousy and fear. She told your ex-partner something designed to pull them away from you, and she succeeded, didn't she? You may have sensed it, a sudden shift, coldness in the eyes, distance that made no sense. That's because your ex wasn't reacting to you, but to a version of you that had been falsely painted by someone else. You didn't know what was said then. You may have only felt the fallout, heartbreak, confusion, maybe even shame. But now the veil is lifting. The truth is moving, and so is justice. The woman who lied thought she had won something, maybe attention, power, or control. But what she truly invited was spiritual disturbance. Since the day she spoke that lie, her life hasn't been the same. The darkness she tried to send your way has begun to circle her own path. Each night, her dreams grow darker. Her peace is crumbling. And why? Because she knows what she did. She knows what she cost you. And her soul can no longer run from it. This isn't just about a personal drama. This is spiritual warfare. Type Amen 3944 to get blessings. Archangel Michael reveals that this lie was not a random human mistake, it was a spiritual attack meant to derail a divine connection. You were on the brink of something powerful. A destiny tied to love, partnership, and elevation. And the enemy saw that. So he used someone who was already envious of your light, and whispered into her ear. She became a mouthpiece for something darker, and now the consequences are echoing through her own life. Archangel Michael says. Because what begins in the shadows will always be exposed by the light. The lie has already begun to unravel. Your ex is starting to question things. Strange dreams. Odd feelings. A spiritual discomfort that wasn't there before. Heaven is working through the unseen. And so are you. Stay with me, because in the next section, I will reveal how this emotional betrayal has already been recorded in the divine scroll, and why heaven is preparing a moment of justice in your favor. No tear you shed went unnoticed. No injustice was left unwritten in heaven's scrolls. Archangel Michael speaks again, and I want you to know something sacred. Heaven saw everything. Every tear you cried. Every moment of silence you endured. Every confusing shift in your relationship that you couldn't explain, heaven recorded it, and not 1 second of your pain has gone unseen or unmeasured. When that woman whispered a lie to your ex, she didn't just tarnish your name, she tampered with destiny. And though your ex may have believed her, heaven knows they were only reacting to a false reality. They never got to see the truth of your heart, your loyalty, your depth. And that spiritual theft, yes, theft, is being weighed in the courts of divine justice. You may have felt abandoned or misunderstood. You might have questioned your worth, wondering what you did wrong. But Archangel Michael tells you today, you did nothing wrong. You were betrayed. And what's worse, The person who hurt you didn't just damage your relationship, they wounded your soul by robbing you of a chance to be truly known and loved. But the divine doesn't let such things go uncorrected. Type Amen 2943 to get blessings. There is a sacred record, yes, a heavenly scroll, that holds every word spoken against you, every injustice committed in secret. And that record is now being reviewed. Archangel Michael is standing in the courtroom of heaven with your name in hand. What was done against you wasn't just a mistake. It was a violation. And what was stolen from you, it will be returned. Not in the same form, perhaps, but in a way that restores your peace, your confidence, your power. Archangel Michael says, while you were suffering in silence, the woman who slandered you began to unravel in her own way. She has been carrying the weight of what she did. The lies she told may have given her a fleeting sense of control, but it opened the door to spiritual consequences she never imagined. Her nights are restless. Her peace is fractured. Her soul knows she crossed a line she wasn't meant to. And as for your ex, something deep within them has begun to stir. Doubts, questions, dreams. Their spirit is uneasy because they are beginning to sense that the version of you they were given wasn't true. They are waking up, not because of anything said out loud, but because heaven is whispering truth directly to their soul. This is divine timing. The emotional pain you endured wasn't wasted. It purified your heart. It called heaven to your side. And now, because of that inner strength, you are not just seen, you are chosen. Chosen for clarity. Chosen for restoration. Chosen to rise higher than you've ever risen before. But the story isn't over yet. The woman who lied about you is about to face something she never expected, spiritual exposure. Type Amen 20,432 to get blessings. Archangel Michael says, her jealousy wasn't natural. A darker force entered her mind, and used her voice. There is a truth you must understand, this betrayal, this attack on your name, wasn't just birthed from human emotions. Yes, she was jealous. Yes, she harbored resentment. But those feelings alone weren't enough to make her cross such a dangerous line. Archangel Michael reveals something deeper, something far more spiritually disturbing. She was influenced. In her weakness, a doorway opened. This woman who once smiled in your presence was secretly battling an inner storm of comparison. Every time she saw your peace, your growth, your divine favor, it stirred something bitter inside her. And rather than face her own wounds and shadows, she let them grow. She began to look at you not as a soul to love, but as a spirit to compete with. But jealousy is a magnet for spiritual darkness. And in one vulnerable moment, something unseen whispered into her ear. It came cloaked in emotion, disguised as a feeling, a thought, a justification. She thought she was warning your ex. She thought she was being clever. But what she didn't know was that her words were now laced with poison. A dark force had found its way into her speech. She became a vessel, unwitting, but still responsible. Archangel Michael says that this dark force didn't choose her at random. It knew she was near you. It knew she had access. And it knew that you were walking towards something powerful, a breakthrough in love, a higher vibration, a moment of divine alignment with someone who could have loved you deeply. Type Amen 0982 to get blessings. So it did what darkness always does, it sowed confusion, using someone close to you. What's important to know is this, it wasn't just about sabotaging your relationship. It was about delaying your destiny. That bond you were building, that love you were growing, it had a spiritual assignment. You were evolving, elevating, becoming something beautiful in the eyes of heaven. And when someone rises in their light, it often provokes shadows in others. The woman who lied about you didn't realize the full consequences of her actions. She thought she was playing a game. But now, she's no longer in control. The very energy she released has started to turn on her. Her thoughts are cloudy. Her sleep is disturbed. Her inner peace is disintegrating. And the dark force that once whispered to her is now whispering against her. There is a law in the spirit: what you release into the world returns to you multiplied. She sowed lies into your life, now truth is haunting her nights. But don't let this make you bitter. Let it empower you. Because you, dear soul, have stayed in your light. You didn't fight fire with fire. You allowed heaven to handle it, and now, the heavens are moving swiftly. She thought she could bury it, but heaven never sleeps. There are some things people say in moments of envy or manipulation that they believe will disappear with time. She thought that if she spoke the lie and walked away from it, the energy would simply dissolve. That life would move on. That no one would ever find out what she'd done. Type Amen 2934 to get blessings. But heaven doesn't forget. And neither does the soul. Archangel Michael says that since the day she twisted your truth and delivered it like a dagger to your ex's ears, her spirit has not rested. Though she may smile during the day, her nights tell a different story. The dreams she once ignored have become louder. The silence that once felt peaceful now feels charged, uncomfortable, haunted. At first, it was just restlessness, minor disruptions in sleep. Then, images started to appear. Shadows. Whispers. The sound of your name. Scenarios replaying in her mind where the lie comes out into the open and the shame crashes down. These aren't just guilty thoughts. These are spiritual hauntings, divine visitations that echo truth into the very places where she tried to hide it. Because the time of revelation is near. What she did wasn't just personal. It interfered with the divine timeline of your life. And when someone interferes with a soul's ordained path, especially one protected by Archangel Michael, the consequences are not only internal, but cosmic. She's being confronted not just by guilt, but by truth itself. Archangel Michael has begun visiting her dreams. Sometimes he appears as a radiant being of light. Other times, he comes through symbols, mirrors breaking, clock stopping at 3:33, a burning candle that extinguishes with no wind. Her soul knows what these signs mean, even if her mind pretends to brush them off. But truth always finds its way to the surface. Type Amen 294 to get blessings. She may be trying to suppress it, but it's growing. The regret is beginning to gnaw at her in ways she didn't expect. She avoids certain conversations. She avoids hearing your name. And yet, the more she avoids, the more the universe presses in. Because it's not about punishment, it's about correction. There is still time for her to come clean. To speak what really happened. But if she doesn't, heaven will allow the truth to break through in other ways, through exposure, confession, or undeniable synchronicities that will leave her no place to hide. And you? You're being prepared. Archangel Michael says. You don't need to chase justice. It's already chasing you. What was whispered in secrecy will soon be echoed in the open. And when that moment comes, you will not need to prove yourself, because heaven will have already done it for you. There's a window opening, and a truth trying to rise. Archangel Michael comes to you now with a whisper of revelation and a warning wrapped in compassion. The one who once walked away from you, the one who believed the lie, is no longer at peace. Something inside them is changing. They cannot explain it, but they feel it. And what they feel is spiritual truth knocking on the door of their heart. Type Amen 2045 to get blessings. They don't know exactly what happened between you and the woman who spoke against you. But their soul is awakening to the fact that something about the story never felt right. There's a mismatch between what they were told and what they felt when they were with you. That tension, once buried, is now surfacing. It started as dreams. Then, flickers of your face when they're alone. A song that reminds them of you. A strange sense of loss not tied to any specific moment, but to a deeper, invisible thread being pulled by heaven. Archangel Michael reveals that your ex is now being visited, not just by memories, but by divine truth. They're being drawn into a season of reckoning. A moment where clarity is available, but only if they choose to open their heart to it. This is a narrow window, beloved. Spirit is speaking, and heaven is shaking their foundation to make space for revelation. But like all divine moments, it will not stay open forever. What they do next matters. Will they listen to their heart, or remain loyal to the voice that poisoned their trust? Will they question the woman's motives, or keep pretending nothing was wrong? Archangel Michael says that if they remain in spiritual denial, their own path may be delayed. Because they were given the chance to love someone with divine light, you, and they allowed fear, doubt, or gossip to cloud that opportunity. Type Amen 3984 to get blessings. But here's the sacred twist: this situation isn't just about romantic healing. It's about spiritual discernment. Your ex's ability to reconnect with you, or even just to see the truth, is a divine test of their own spiritual growth. And for you? You are being called to prepare your heart. Not to chase. Not to beg. But to remain open. Because whether or not your ex returns, whether or not they confess their part in believing the lie, you are being elevated. But if they do come back, it will not be on broken terms. It will be with a humbled heart. With truth. With evidence of awakening. Archangel Michael encourages you, forgive them in your heart, but don't wait in stillness. You are not being asked to pause your life for someone else's awakening. You are being asked to rise. Because your light is not defined by who stayed or who left, it is defined by who you are becoming. Still, time is sensitive. The truth is swirling in the air. You may hear from them sooner than expected, a message, a call, a question wrapped in hesitation. Be wise. Be grounded. Be aligned. The truth always returns, and now, heaven commands it to surface. Archangel Michael steps forward now, not as a gentle whisper, but as a mighty force. His sword, forged in heavenly fire, has been drawn. And where that sword moves, deception cannot remain hidden. The time for silence is over. The truth is rising, and heaven has declared that your name will no longer be wrapped in the shadows of lies. Type Amen 294 to get blessings. You have waited patiently. You have held your peace. And now, your vindication has begun. This is not about revenge. Archangel Michael does not fight with malice. His sword is not made for punishment, it is forged for justice, clarity, and divine order. And his mission right now? To separate the false from the true. To cut through the tangled web of deception that was spun around your story. And to let light flood in where darkness once lived. The woman who lied about you can feel it. Her spirit is restless, not just with guilt, but with awareness that something greater than her is now involved. Her manipulation, once hidden, is unraveling at the seams. People around her are beginning to ask questions. One slip of the tongue, one moment of unguarded honesty, and the lie may be exposed by her own hand. Archangel Michael says, her false narrative was never stable. It was a house of cards built on spiritual sand. And now, heaven is sending winds. But here's the divine twist: you don't need to defend yourself. The more you rise in light, the more her words will contradict your reality. People will begin to see you glowing with favor, with peace, with divine evidence, and they'll start to wonder why your life doesn't match the slander that was spoken. Type Amen 2389 to get blessings. And your ex? They, too, will begin to see. In the coming days, Archangel Michael is working behind the veil of their awareness, through dreams, conversations, unexpected signs. The sword of truth is slicing through the fog, illuminating the lie they once believed. You may be surprised how suddenly they begin to question everything. Heaven is orchestrating a moment. A reckoning. A realignment of what was once unjustly broken. And do you know what's most powerful? Archangel Michael reveals that someone else, a mutual connection, an innocent observer, a friend who suspected the truth, is about to accidentally expose what was hidden. A name may slip. A message may be seen. A conversation overheard. Not through confrontation, but through divine timing. This revelation will not come with chaos. It will come with divine weight. The type of truth that makes people silent. That makes them reflect. That makes them ashamed for believing the wrong person. And you? You'll know the truth didn't rise because you chased it. It rose because you trusted heaven to fight for you. You were chosen not just to endure, but to rise above and lead others through healing. You may have asked yourself, why me? Why did you have to be the target of a lie? Why did someone close to you twist your truth and poison a connection that once brought light to your life? These are heavy questions. But Archangel Michael responds not with pity, but with purpose. You were chosen. Not to be broken, but to become the testimony. Type Amen 0989 to get blessings. Archangel Michael says, there is something powerful about your spirit. You were never created to remain hidden or silent. Even in your pain, even in betrayal, you carried yourself with a dignity that heaven noticed. You didn't retaliate. You didn't fall into bitterness. And because of that, Archangel Michael says, you passed a test most would have failed. Now your role in this divine restoration begins. You are being called to rise. Not in arrogance, not in revenge, but in wisdom, grace, and sacred clarity. You are being prepared to lead by example. To show the world what it means to walk in truth even when it hurts. To carry spiritual authority because you trusted the process and didn't surrender your light to the darkness. You see, when someone lies about you, they're not just attacking your image, they're trying to rob your destiny. But Archangel Michael declares today, your destiny is untouched. If anything, it's expanding. You were meant to be a witness. Not just of what happened, but of what heaven can do when a soul stays aligned. Others are watching. They saw the fallout. They saw the way your ex changed. The way you were isolated. But now, they will also see your restoration. And it will speak louder than any false word ever spoken. You may be offered a moment of confrontation soon. The woman who betrayed you may reach out. Your ex may come forward. You may be presented with information that confirms everything you suspected. Be ready. But do not respond from ego. Respond from power. Type Amen 3774 to get blessings. Let Archangel Michael's presence guide your words, your thoughts, and your next steps. Your response isn't just for this moment, it's a reflection of your spiritual maturity. And your future blessings are tied to how you handle this truth now. Forgiveness is not approval. It is liberation. Forgive her because you will not carry her darkness anymore. Forgive your ex, if you choose, because they were also deceived. But most importantly, forgive yourself for ever questioning your own worth in the process. Because you were never the problem. You were the light that threatened their shadows. You're not the same person who was hurt. You're stronger, sharper, spiritually awakened. And now, heaven is assigning you to greater realms, new relationships, divine opportunities, and favor that only flows to those who've endured what you did and still kept their soul clean. But the final chapter is still being written. Archangel Michael says, your name is being rewritten in divine fire, no lie can erase what heaven has marked. Hear this now with the full authority of heaven behind these words, your story is not ending in betrayal, it is rising in glory. Archangel Michael stands beside you with a scroll etched in heavenly fire. On that scroll is your true name, undefiled by slander, untouched by lies, and sealed with divine favor. The injustice that was done to you may have delayed certain things, but it did not destroy your destiny. The woman who whispered against you planted a temporary fog around your path, but heaven, with surgical precision, has now begun to clear it. You are not who they said you were. You never were. Type Amen 2843 to get blessings. And now, everyone will see it. Archangel Michael reveals that in the days ahead, you will begin to experience unusual vindication. Encounters, messages, coincidences, that aren't coincidences at all. Conversations that circle back to your name, but this time, in the light of truth. A door will open. A heart will shift. And what was once hidden will be spoken either as confession or exposure. But this is not only about others seeing the truth. It is about you stepping into your new chapter with power and awareness. You endured spiritual sabotage. You walked through a betrayal that should have left you bitter. But instead of lowering your frequency, you surrendered to divine timing, and because of that, heaven is about to reward you. You may feel a stirring already, a sense that something is shifting. You are not wrong. A spiritual reversal is taking place. What the enemy meant for harm is being turned into a stepping stone. The energy of slander is becoming a testimony of your resilience. And the lie that once haunted someone else is now setting you free. Because the truth doesn't just correct injustice, it restores dignity. You will receive clarity, yes. But you will also receive compensation. Spiritually, emotionally, and even relationally. That which was stolen, love, respect, connection, will return, either in purified form, or in divine replacement. Archangel Michael says, you will not be left empty-handed. Be alert now. Within the next 7 days, watch for divine signs. Type Amen 2843 to get blessings. Archangel Michael says, a dream where the truth is revealed. A message or call from someone involved. A sudden wave of peace that replaces years of confusion. An unexpected opportunity that aligns perfectly with what you lost. These are not random. They are heaven's signature on your healing. You are being crowned, not for perfection, but for faithfulness. This isn't just your victory, it's your elevation. You are stepping into a version of yourself that could only be born through fire. And now, the world will see what heaven has always known: you are chosen, protected, and rising. Because when Archangel Michael defends you, no weapon, spoken or spiritual, can stand. The sword has moved. The truth has awakened. And your blessing is already on its way. Type Amen 2183 to get blessings.